Live. Okay.
So we're live.
We should be.
All
I'll
right.
wait
I'm just
till
gonna check.
the notification gets sent to me.
Yeah, I'm gonna just check on YouTube. Oh, I see it. Yeah, I see you looking at my screen. Or is that your screen?
Yeah, I just pulled up the thing by itself, so I'll follow along as we go through.
Oh, okay. Well, I think we're good because it's like on my like under my subscriptions on my phone, so we could
Oh,
probably start
okay.
now.
Sounds good. Hey buddies, it's Dylan from the Buddy Force here, along with Lane from the Buddy Force, one of our new additions. Lane, how are you?
I'm good.
Good, and we're doing something different now. As you guys all know, this is primarily a Yu-Gi-Oh channel, but with the addition of our friends Lane and Austin, we are trying to expand and open up our minds to other TCGs. I've already been trying to do some Pokemon, uh, with Lane sort of showing me how to do and tell me what cards to buy and everything. But today we are going to look at something that Lane is super excited about. From my understanding, there are some sets from the OCG that have been announced that even though they're two different sets in the OCG, they will be all a part of the same set when it comes to the TCG. So we've got Japan's Silver Lance and Jet Black Spirit. Those are two different sets, right?
Yeah. So generally, how Pokemon releases things is they'll release a and I'm just gonna say set. I'm just gonna count this as one. Technically, it's
Okay.
technically two, but they'll release like a bigger set like this. Um, whenever their usual time is. I don't pay too much attention.
Mm-hmm.
And then in between these two bigger sets, they'll release smaller sets. And then what happens is when we get the sets here, they condense like 3, 4 of Japan sets all into one set here. Like for example, for battle styles, it was there was a set. One of the sets only focused on single strike, and
Mm-hmm.
the other set only focused on rapid strike.
Oh, and they combined it into battle styles.
Yes,
Oh,
they
okay.
combined that in like another smaller set too.
Yeah. I guess for those of you who don't know, so the little bit of Pokemon that I've been trying to do, I've mainly been playing on the online Pokemon trading card game client, which is really fun actually. I would suggest people who want to try playing Pokemon to give that a shot, especially cuz it's way cheaper than the card game and you can actually play it right now with people. Uh but I've
Yeah, a lot,
got
and it's all automated too. So
yeah.
like you don't have to worry about like not moving your cards correctly or whatever.
Yeah. And I don't know why, but I think it's super funny. So pretty much right now in our city, one of the only places that you can get battle styles, you have to hunt for them, is what
You
I've
do.
learned. And the only places I've ever been able to buy packs of battle styles is from EB Games, which is the Canadian version of GameStop. And I went there one time, my first time, bought 4 packs of battle styles because that's all they had. And I pulled a Rainbow Rare Bruno, which I soon found out that apparently the Pokemon community hates rainbow rares and men. So I found that out, and then today I went to EB Games again, the same EB Games, and they had a special uh thing that they were selling where it's those like 1 card binders, which I love, by the way. I bought one of those for Yu-Gi-Oh a long time ago that has like Solgaleo on it. Um but yeah, so I bought one of those because it was like $8 and it came with a pack from Battle Styles. So
So
I
it's like a $2 binder then. That's not bad.
yeah. So then I buy it and there's 1 pack in it and it's another Rainbow Rare Bruno and it's just that's my introduction. I got the least preferred rarity and the least preferred gender for a
I didn't
Pokemon
realize
card.
that was from the same EB. That's hilarious, actually.
Literally from the same EV. Yeah, it was crazy. Hey,
Oh,
but
and funny enough, if you want to talk about weird stores to get battle styles,
mhm.
I've honestly seen the most of it at Shoppers Drug Mart.
Dude,
I never thought I would be going to Shoppers to buy cards.
I'm honestly, I
Like,
think I might make a video on it soon because Shoppers Drug Mart is weirdly enough so good for trading card games. Like I went in there, uh, there's one Shoppers Drug Mart sort of near my house, and I go there every week because one time, like right now, there is a first edition pack of Yu-Gi-Oh's Shadow Specters. That's like the first set that Ghost Tricks came in. Um,
oh
They,
crap! Yeah, that's
yeah,
old.
they had Rise of the Duelist first ed way after it was print release, and I ended up pulling like one of those like Ice Dragons prisons, which are now $90, and it's just I don't understand how they get it. They have so many crazy like sets that you can't find anywhere else in the city anymore, and they're always first ed, and it's nuts.
The main reason why I started going to shoppers though is because I'm on some of these like Facebook Canadian buy and sell groups,
Mm-hmm.
and occasionally you'll get someone posting that they went to a shoppers and they find like a third party pack, right? So
Yeah.
okay, whatever. The pack's probably weighed, it's garbage.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like one random Pokemon pack and then like a random holo.
Yep.
And they're literally finding like the pre-release Charizard promos that are worth like 200 plus, like $300-400.
Oh
And I'm
my
like,
god.
what company would do this? Like they're losing so much money.
Yeah, we had the same thing where maybe 2 years ago we went to
Oh,
Toys R Us,
yeah, I
and
remember
yeah,
this.
Toys R Us had those repackaged sets, and inside of like a single one we got like a first edition Ash Blossom,
Yeah, I
and it's
remember
just
watching that. Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. So I guess just a little bit of advice, whether it's Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh. I don't know about Magic yet, but I'm slowly trying to get into
No,
Magic as well. But yeah.
I've never seen Magic at shoppers. But honestly,
Mhm.
Magic's the thing is with Magic though is it's not in crazy high demands. Like you can find
No.
Magic product at like any LGS really.
Yeah, I went to a
Well,
Walmart today.
I shouldn't say that though because I think Time Spiral Remastered is actually insanely hard to find.
Hmm.
Like boxes have like doubled in price.
Yeah.
Okay, so never that but that's a supplementary set. Like main sets for Magic, you're always good.
Yeah. Well, it's like I went to a Walmart today and I went to the trading card section as I do, and all pretty much all the Yu-Gi-Oh's gone, all the Pokemon's gone, and there's just a lot of Magic stuff. And I just always assumed it's cuz they pump out a lot of cards.
Yeah. The reason, yeah, for some reason with Time Spiral Remastered is they I think Maro or Mark Rosewater, one of the main guys at Wizards.
Mhm.
I think it was him. Anyway, him or one of the other big guys said that like they're not super printing this Time Spiral Remastered set, so that's why it's
Hmm.
so hard to find right now.
That's really
But like the
interesting.
newest set, Strixhaven pre-releases right now. Yeah,
Oh yeah.
I just came back from Galaxy and they still had tons of pre-release kits. So yeah,
Nice.
if you need Magic cards, like they're not hard to find.
No. I've never really seen somewhere have a shortage of Magic, which was always kind of like it made me feel bad cuz I'm like, man, I play Yu-Gi-Oh and now I'm trying to get into Pokemon and it's like every store has everything but that. It seems
The
like
only shortage Magic has is the older stuff,
yeah.
really, on that are on the reserved list because they're not allowed to reprint them. Like
Mhm.
that's the only thing that there's generally shortages of.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah, that's
all right.
I guess it's just a quick look at like what you guys can expect from the channel moving forward is we're going to try looking at different TCGs. And with that being said, Lane, walk me through the Silver Lance and Jet Black Spirit sets.
So the first thing we see that's of note is the Obama Snow. It has the ability toughen up as long as this Pokemon is in play. Single strike Pokemon get 50 more maximum HP, but you can only apply one of this ability at a time. So I've played with some single strike guys before, and that deck needs its bench space,
Mhm.
like the Urshifu variant, because you need like double Houndoom at least. You need your Urshifu. You ideally want a second one, and now you have two spots left, and those two spots are generally like a Dedenne GX or a Crobat V.
Yeah.
Sometimes even both, because you need to rip through your deck, right? And then even if you're going against something else like a Mewtwo deck, you want your Jirachi GX to get rid of that psychic weakness.
Mhm.
So 50 more HP is like really good. It's actually quite a lot, but single strike because we don't have an ability that or rather like a trainer like or a stadium, sorry, that that's like Skyfield where we can have 8 things on the bench.
Mhm.
I just don't think decks have enough room to play this.
No.
So
Okay.
it's like a 2 out of 5. Like the ability's strong, it's just there's not enough room.
So,
Um
which one?
oh sorry.
I know there's Rapid Strike and there's Single Strike. Which one's the good one? Because I've heard that one of them's really good and one of them's not so great.
Um, Single Strike, I think has like one of the better supports with Houndoom, but overall Rapid Strike's better
Mhm.
because the Urshifu only needs one energy to attack, and Gmax Rapid Flow, which is also the other attack for the Rapid Strike one's insanely good. Just
Mhm.
doing 120 to two different things.
Mhm.
Um, they're both not like Single Strike's not terrible. It's just not as good.
Okay.
Um, Crustal's bad. Nothing yet. Nothing really here. We can bring up this Serena. Uh, double colorless, 10 plus 50 for each energy in the retreat cost. On a stage two, it's just random ads blocking me from looking at it. On a stage two, not very good. I believe there's a Milotic V that does the exact same thing, and
Mhm.
it's on a base stick. The difference is Milotic V needs 3 energy, but Melodic V is still not seeing like any sort of play outside of being a one of in like some Ditto box variants, but even Ditto box isn't very good. So
Mhm.
yeah, if this was on a stage one, maybe it would be decent. But on a stage two, you're gonna take it's too much resources to set up. Right underneath we have Zarude. So its first attack is you search your deck for a grass Pokemon, reveal it, put it into your hand. If you go second and it's your first turn, you may search up your deck for a 3 grass type Pokemon instead.
Mhm.
This card I think is quite good, but it's not good right now because we still have Rowlet, Alolan, Exeggutor, which is just strictly better
Mhm.
than this because this only puts it to your hand, whereas Aggro Tag Team, you evolve right into your stage 2. So maybe in a post rotation world, as I believe rotation is probably going to be Sword Shield on.
Mhm.
Maybe in a post rotation world, this is good in like a grass box type decks. But as long as we have aggro, there's really no points in playing this card.
Okay.
Its attack's decent, but um, you're going to need to play a Rillaboom in order to get the most out of this.
Mhm.
So yeah, post rotation Rillaboom. If you're really if you're a big fan of Rillaboom, go for it. Otherwise, just no. So up next we have this fire type sun type cast form.
Mhm.
So all the cast forms in these two sets have this ability where if you have 8 or more stadium cards in your discard pile, they attack for free. Um, this isn't that good because you need 8 stadiums in your discard. So realistically, you're going to want to play something like 10 plus stadiums because you don't want to risk like them getting prized.
Mhm.
And just getting 8 stadiums in the discard is not as easy as it sounds.
How many cards in a Pokemon deck again?
Exactly 60.
That's what it was. Okay.
So you have to devote like a sixth of your deck to only
And
stadiums,
that's
which
crazy.
it's not that good.
Well, wouldn't that
Yeah.
mean odds are if you run 10 stadium cards, you're always going to see at least one of them in your hand, right?
In your opening hands,
Yeah, cuz you draw 7 for your opening hand.
you draw 7 for your opening hands, then you lay down 6 prizes, and then you'll draw an additional card for each mulligan your opponent had.
So for all you know, you could already have one in your prizing and then one in your
Yeah.
hand before the game even starts.
Yeah. And
That's
that's why you
crazy.
have to play more than 8.
Yeah.
There's actually there were Rotoms that were released about 2 years ago that have a very similar ability. It's just tools instead of stadiums.
Which sounds a
Now
lot easier.
it's far more reasonable to run like 8 tools than it
Mhm.
is stadiums, and these things still no didn't see play.
Okay.
I think there were some like fringe like rogue decks that played it, but they were never good. Um, Up next we have Volcanion V. That's worth noting. 2 for 50 is pretty bad. 3 for 100, and then if it has 10 or more damage counters on it, so if it has 100 damage on it, it will do 150 more. Like you have to live a hit is my biggest problem with this.
Mhm.
Or if they can like set up fine, like you're not going to get that. And another problem with this card is it is a single strike, which is nice, but the single strike energy card, or at least the better of the two now that we're getting more,
Mhm.
only provides fighting and dark. So
Oh.
yeah, it fulfills the colorless portion, but it's not really doing anything for that double fire. This card's I just don't see that there's no reason to play this. I think over a card like Victini V or V Max,
Mhm.
even though this one has the single strike tag on it. not good.
Mm-hmm.
Up next we have a Cinderace line that are all single strike. So I think you probably play these two over the old ones in the Cinderace deck from Sword Shield, unless the old Score Bunny has 70 HP. I can't remember off the top of my head. But this Cinderace actually seems like it can be decent. Has an ability that does your attacks do 30 more damage, or his attacks do 30 more damage for each prize card your opponent has taken. So
That
if your
sounds pretty
opponent's
good.
taken, yeah, if your opponent's taken 5 prizes for 2 energy, he's doing 300 damage. So he's probably, I think he's maybe good as a one of for a closer in the Cinderace deck.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, you're not going to build just with him being the main attacker. He's a supplement to another Cinderace type thing. But again, like 2 for 300 is insane. But you also have to remember at that point your opponent has one prize left, which means they knock out one thing, they win. So
And
yeah,
when you have I don't know, maybe it's just me, but if you're bringing out a closer, 170 HP doesn't seem like the most,
oh
especially late
god,
game.
that hurts. Hearing that hurts so much because back in the day, 170. Like I've been playing since essentially Heart Gold Soul Silver era.
Mm-hmm.
Heart Gold Soul Silver on was the format I started with, so Black and White was already out.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I remember when EXs were coming out, and we were all like, "Holy crap, these things have 170 HP!" And
Yeah,
now
it's
it's
just
like that's
from the
not
amount
even
I've played
enough.
online, it just seems like I don't know. I'll bring out my Pokemon or whatever, and then by turn 3, my opponent's got like a 220 HP Zacian V or whatever, and I just
Yeah,
can't deal with it.
yeah, 170. It's as much as that. Like I laugh at saying it. It's really not that bulky anymore.
Wow.
Like I do know, like back in the day, stage twos were only 140,
Uh huh.
but yeah, this he's not that bulky. But you could play him with Obama Snow, and now your deck's just some like
220
bricky mess.
Cinderace.
Even 220 is not that much though,
No.
because Zacian still one shots that. That hurts. Um, Lapras looks kind of cute, but it's not that good. Snow cast form, same problem as the other one. Like 8 stadiums is way too much to ask for.
Mm-hmm.
Frostlass is cool when you evolve it. You can search your discard pile for a water energy and attach it to anything. But I don't see a world where you're playing this over Frostmoth.
Mm-hmm.
Frostmoth works after it's just evolved, so you can use it whenever. It's only to your bench, I guess, but like this just has no purpose, in my
Mm-hmm.
opinion, existing when we have Frostmoth. Like they both have 90 HP, so they're both searchable, excuse me, off level ball.
Mm-hmm.
And even so, there's actually no Bombasnow, I believe, that does the same thing. Although, but it might only be to bench. But it does the same thing. When you evolve it, you search your discard for water, attach to one of your Pokemon. That thing's seen zero play. So
Mm-hmm.
that just tells me Frostlass is going to see zero play. We're all Walrein auto paralyzed, but it's too much to ask for, I think, on a stage 2, and you discard 2 energy. But it's always worth noting things that auto paralyze, because paralyze is it's probably the best status condition.
I've noticed that the deck that I've been playing is Pikarom, and anytime I can paralyze my opponent, I just feel like it's always game. Cause
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, that's actually, generally speaking, that's the closer for the Pikarom deck.
yeah,
Is you reset stamp them to like 3 or 2, and then you paralyze them with your Raichu and Alolan Raichu tag team,
yep.
because they can't do anything because they have to draw a switch, but you just stamp them to like 2, 3 cards. So yeah, it's always worth knowing what does auto paralyze, but it doesn't mean that it's good.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still worth to note. Avalugg, yeah, this card's bad. Okay, so now we're getting to like the first of the big ones. We have
Okay.
Ice Rider Calyrex V and VMAX. So the V is actually not bad for a Pokemon that, generally speaking, Pokemon V types that evolve into the VMAXs, they generally just suck. You generally only play them just to evolve.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing I like about this one is its second attack is 3 for 200. You do discard 2 energies, but there's I don't think you would play this in a Frostmoth deck, but there is a card we're going to be looking at later that can help with the discarding. But this card's actually not terrible for a card that evolves. I don't think you would ever play this on its own,
Mm-hmm.
but it's worth noting that it's a decent hitter, or like it does have a decent attack for something that you're most likely playing just to evolve.
Mm-hmm.
Now our Ice Rider Calyrex VMAX, I think it's decent, but it has one crippling flaw that I believe that's it's this flaw that it and is going to be why it's going to see no play, and it's weak to metal, which means Zacian just
Zation.
eats this thing up, right?
Yeah.
But both of its attacks are very solid. It's just its weakness that's holding holding it back. 10 plus 30 for each of your opponent's bench isn't terrible. Like that's
Mm-hmm.
like if they have a full bench, that's two colorless energy for 160 damage, which is really deep, which is really good. And then Max Lance, 10 plus, you can discard two cards, energy cards from this Pokemon, and if you do, it does 120 more for each energy card you discard in this way. So two for 250 is also really good.
Yeah.
You have to discard the energy, but again, there's a card coming up that really helps with this. So I do think Ice Rider Calyrex is a good card.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that being weak to Zacian holds you back so much because Zacian is arguably like the best. It's like a top 3 card of all time,
Mm-hmm.
probably. Like it's that good.
Yeah, that energy effect that Zation has, every time my opponent uses it, I'm just like, how is this card allowed? It seems
It really
so
shouldn't.
busted.
Like I guess they thought they were balancing it by ending your turn, but
Mm-hmm.
like realistically, it shouldn't attach the energy. Like if it was
No.
just you
Add.
can choose to draw 3, it would be fine. I don't think there'd be a huge problem with it. Just draw 3, end your turn.
Mm-hmm.
That's a it's a powerful effect, but it's not overtly broken.
And then that combined with the which Pokemon is it? The one that lets you move energy infinitesimally?
Oh, that's the new Bronzong.
That's what it was. Yeah, so it's just like, okay, cool. I paralyzed his Pokemon, but he's just gonna move all of the energy off of it onto his next one, and it's
Oh,
absolutely bonkers.
you've been playing a lot of like Corviknight Bronzong decks.
I've been seeing a lot of that.
Hmm. I mean, I'll be honest, I haven't played ladder in a little bit, but I haven't seen it in a while.
Hmm.
Maybe people are trying it out again because it does have a good Rapid Strike matchup, and a lot of people were just calling Rapid Strike to be one of the best decks in format.
Yeah.
It's tier 1 for sure, but yeah. Moving on from Ice Rider, we have Galarian Rapidash V. I believe this is also getting a promo card, like it's going to be in a box with 4 other packs. So I remember seeing this card a while ago, but I misread it. The first attack is put damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon until it has 100 HP remaining. I thought this was only on the active, but being able to hit like bench things is not bad
Hmm.
because like if you do this on a VMAX, you're doing like 200 damage for 2 energy. Now the thing that sucks is that this attack can never kill something,
Hmm.
but it can be really good at setting up. And the fact that it also hits the bench, I think, makes it really powerful because now you don't have to worry about boss so much.
Is this an attack you do every turn, or does it only do it once?
What do you mean?
Like, am I like, let's say I'm targeting one of their monsters. Am I activating Librehorn every turn to put one damage counter on it, or
No, you put all the damage counters on at once. So if you're running against something that has like
oh,
300 HP, you put 20 damage on it or 20 damage counters on it.
oh my god,
Yeah, you never KO with the attack, but it can set up things.
wow. Well, because we were talking about before, like if your opponent summons a Pokemon and it has 100 HP, that's not a lot. Like,
No, but this thing can never KO, right?
yeah, but I mean, if you're setting it up, so it's like
Oh yeah,
use this.
yeah.
His entire bench only has 100 HP. Then that seems absolutely bonkers to me.
I think it's a little too slow, but I feel like someone's gonna do something with this,
Hmm.
like with Dust Noir and Expanded.
Also, the
Because
artwork is really cool on this.
yeah, well, I think Galarian Rapidash looks really good. It's just a really nice looking Pokemon in general.
Getting some Twilight Sparkle vibes. Uh, I noticed on the card art here, it looks like some of the stars or like the shines are like embossed or like indented. That I am excited to see this card in
Oh, I
person.
see.
I think that'll look really cool.
Nah, I don't think it's gonna look that good, but No, I see what you mean. Yeah. One thing I will give V's is I do think a lot of the V cards look nice, even
Mm-hmm.
though I don't like the mechanic a lot. I just think GXs were far better. The second attack, 60 plus 30 for each energy attached to your opponent's active. It's okay. It's so the card's like interesting. Like I feel like you can do interesting things with it, but unfortunately, interesting doesn't always mean good.
Yeah.
Um, Nothing. Oh, so the next thing that's important to bring up from the psychic types is this Curlia. So for one psychic energy, search your deck for three Pokemon named Curlia and then put them onto your bench. And now I
Okay.
know Dylan, you probably won't recognize this, but if you anyone who's been playing the game for about 5 or so years will recognize Frogadier and Greninja Break. The Frogadier had the exact same attack, and it was that attack that allowed Greninja Break to be playable because you just put them right onto the bench, and then your next turn you can evolve them. So this Curlia makes any Gardevoir like just good now or decent. Like you can skip rare candy, which is huge.
Oh, okay. I was really trying to figure out like what's the benefit of having four Curlias on your bench, but I guess okay, that makes sense. So you just have it stops you from having to use the rare candy, which I've
Yeah,
seen a few times, and you can just go straight into Gardevoir
on your
if you have
following
it.
turn, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Huh.
we know this attack is good based off of Frogadier.
Mm-hmm.
Now, but it's only as good as the Gardevoirs or Gallades, right?
Mm-hmm.
So luckily enough, I actually this Gardevoir looks really strong.
Mm-hmm.
So its ability is you look at the top two cards of your deck, choose any number of basic energy you find there, and attach them to your Pokemon in any way you like, and then put the others in your hand. So remember how we were just talking about Zacian?
Mm-hmm.
This is literally Zacian, but you don't end your turn, but for one less.
Wow.
Now, the upside now, Zacian's still way better than Gardevoir. Don't get me wrong, because it's
Yeah.
on a basic.
Yeah.
But when you like fully set the thing of why I think Gardevoir might be playable is because everything sets it up so nicely.
Mm-hmm.
Like your Curlia gets all your other Curlias, and then your Gardevoir has an ability that helps you find other Gardevoirs while
Mm-hmm.
accelerating energies. Like at worst, Gardevoir just draws 2 cards for free a turn, which is really good. And its attack is 60 plus 30 for each psychic energy attached to it. Um, it's three energy, so it's doing 150 at the minimum. But it being 3 energy does kind of hurt. I wish it was 2.
Mm-hmm.
Because even if you hit 2 energies off its ability, you still need to find your third.
Yeah.
Now, granted, in your deck, you're going to set up multiple
Mm-hmm.
once you get the first one, but still, there's also a decent Gallade that you'll most likely play in this deck. But you're only 140 HP, so you're really fragile. And this is one, so it's almost like a domino effect, right? Where as soon as you lose one Gardevoir, well, now that's 2 less cards you're seeing a turn. So
Mm-hmm.
you lose one, and you get really really weaker as it goes along. But I still think, thanks to Curlia, this card has a lot of potential, and that ability is just nuts too. Like it's really strong. I'm definitely I'm definitely probably gonna brew with this when it comes out.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm definitely gonna try and make a deck around this Gardevoir and Curlia. Moving on from that, we have Bayonets, which is kind of interesting. There was a Frostlast that came out a year and a half ago that had the same first attack. Um, this attack's only really good if you're looking to hit for weakness. So if you're a deck and you just really want to hit Urshifu VMAX for weakness, I guess you can try this out. Other than that, though, this card's not super spectacular. I mean, it is 1 for 140,
Mm-hmm.
which is really good. Don't get me wrong on a stage 1, but you have 10 HP left because you'd put all 7 on damage counters on it, which means Galarian Zigzagoon just they bench that and it's gone. Super fragile, but can hit decently hard. After that, we have the Gallade. So it does for one psychic energy, not fighting. I actually kind of like it when they do this.
Mm-hmm.
When they have a energy cost that's different from the typing, so it allows like psychic decks now to hit fighting weakness. But anyway, The galley does one for one psychic energy. It does 60 unaffected by resistance. Honestly, that's quite bad. It's not good. It's actually pretty bad on a stage two. Like it's yeah, that's really bad on a stage two. But its second attack is why you would run this, and it's for each V Pokemon your opponent has in play. It does 60 damage. So if they have two, you're doing 120, three, 180. Um, I believe post rotation you can probably almost always expect at least two. Like Crobat and whatever deck they're playing will most likely be on their bench.
Hmm.
So 120 for two, it's not bad. Like you basically I would attack with this before you start sending up your Gardevoirs in that Gardevoir deck. Or if you're playing something like Eternatus, this will just body Eternatus because they have to bench a crazy number of V Pokemon. Plus, they're weak to fighting. So yeah, I think this card's decent because of that Curlia.
Hmm.
I don't think the Gallade's good enough to build a deck around, but it's still like that really solid one or two of in that Gardevoir deck.
So just one thing I want to point out before you go to the next card is for coming from Yu-Gi-Oh moving over to like Pokemon and Magic and stuff, I really do appreciate all of the artwork that goes in. Like every Gallade
Yeah,
has different artwork, which I think is super cool. And with that being said, I just want to say this Rockruff, because I don't think you were probably going to talk about this one. He's freaking adorable, dude.
yeah, that
I love this
Rockruff's really
guy.
good. Funny enough, actually, I think I was gonna probably just point out the Rockruff. It's
Hmm.
a 70 HP Rockruff, and it's a single strike. Um, I believe the only other 70 HP Rockruff we have is really bad. So in
Hmm.
expanded, you would actually probably play this Rockruff, not just because it's adorable, but because it's also arguably one of the better ones. But like this Lycanroc, I think is pretty decent too. It does 2 for 80, and then it does 10 more for each single strike Pokemon in your discard pile. Now we in expanded we have Flareon and what's that? Vespiquen.
Hmm.
That instead of two fighting for 80 plus, it's two colorless for 20 plus. But the upside with those Pokemon is that it doesn't restrict to single strike.
Hmm.
It's any Pokemon. But the thing I think Lycanroc has going for it is it has things like the single strike energy that when it's attached to a single strike Pokemon, they do 20 more damage. This does take fighting energy, so it's Houndoom's good with this. And just I think single strike's starting to get a lot of good support. It's funny enough how I think single strike Urshifu V in the end might be like one of the weaker ways to run the single strike decks. Just
Hmm.
because of like how good some of these non V single strike Pokemon were getting. So I think this might be a decent rogue. I think this Lycanroc might be better than Primeape from Battle Clash if you want to play the non V single strike deck. This just seems more consistent to me because there's another, in my opinion, there's another pretty decent single strike Pokemon that doesn't evolve later on
Hmm.
that you would also most likely run in this deck just because you have to run a lot of single strikes for this guy to start hitting really big numbers. But this is another deck I actually do want to start. I kind of want to brew with once the set comes out here. Moving on, we have Sandaconda V. There's a Sandaconda V from Rebel Clash that's just strictly better. I don't see a world where you ever play this one over the other one. But the Sandaconda VMAX is kind of cool, but it's not great. So it does 1 for 60 and then 20 to the bench. I think post rotation, this might have potential once Mew gets rotated. Because the problem with Rapid Strike Urshifu being so good is I'm like every deck is playing Mew now. The Mew that prevents bench damage.
Hmm.
So anything that like does bench damage like this is just inherently bad because of how popular Mew is in the formats. But I think post rotation you can combine this with the telescopic sight. So now you do 60 to the active and then 50 to any bench Vs.
Hmm. Do you mean 90
Um,
to the active?
no, telescopic sight only works on the bench Pokemon.
Oh, okay.
So like you can start setting things up. Because the old Sandaconda V, I believe, is 3 for 220, and you discard two energies off of it.
Hmm.
So 220 is obviously short from V maxes. But if you get like two of these attacks off, with the telescopic sight. Most VMAXs should be in range of your Sandaconda V. The third attack I think is really cool, where you do 3 for 180, and then you can just freely move the energy around.
Mm-hmm.
The problem though is you can move all your energy around, but then if they have boss or something, they can KO where you're moving it to.
Yeah.
But the attack is still really interesting, so I will give it that. Up next we have Galarian Slow King. This thing's funny. I don't think it's good, but it has a funny ability where you flip a coin. If heads, you heal 90 HP to one of your Pokemon. If tails, it takes 3 damage. Um, I just love how like the slow bro or slow king cards always have these really funny effects based on coin flips
Mm-hmm.
or attacks. Because there's a slow bro that you flip 3 coins, it does 100 damage per heads. But if you flip 3 tails, you just lose the game.
What?
Yeah, I'm serious. like 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 the slow line always gets these really funny effects.
I feel like that's a really fun deck to make. Like, oh, I play Slowpoke OTK.
The funny thing is the deck wasn't terrible because um I believe it came out in Unbroken Bonds.
Mm-hmm.
So when Unbroken Bonds came out, Reshizard was everywhere. So that deck actually had a pretty decent Reshizard matchup because all you needed to do is flip two heads. So there are cards that allow you to reflip attacks
Yep.
that are based on coin flips, but there's nothing for abilities.
I think that happened to
So
me when
that's
I was
why
playing against. Was it Tea Party? No, there was one deck that I was playing against where they just kept on resetting their coin flips, and it sucked for me.
probably Cramorant VMAX.
That's what it was. Yep.
Yeah, because they play a stadium that allows them once a turn to if they don't like the results of an attack for
Mm-hmm.
coin flips, they can reflip it. But it doesn't work for abilities.
Mm-hmm.
After that, we have a Quillfish. If it's active and gets knocked out, the Pokemon takes 6 damage counters. Not very good. It's worth. I guess it's kind of worth noting though that it is a single strike. But other than that, there's like nothing really good about it. Up next, we have Liepard V. When you bench this from your hands, you can discard a tool attached to any Pokemon in play. I'm not sure why you'd want to discard your own tool right now,
Mm-hmm.
but it is still kind of important, I guess, to know that you can target your own things if you really wanted to. And then its attack is 3 for 110, and you can return it to your hand along with all cards attached. This is only really going to see play in Eternatus. I believe so this card reminds me of Galarian Slowbro V
Mm-hmm.
because back when that thing came out, people just wrote it off immediately. But it ended up being a pretty decent card just based on the fact that it's a dark type and Eternatus VMAX is restricted to only playing dark types in the deck. So based on this, I think Eternatus might play this as a one of just to knock off tools.
Okay.
But I'm not sure any other deck's gonna want to play it because we have a Tool Scrapper,
Mm-hmm.
which is a trainer that knocks off 2. That Aggron hits really hard, but like 4 energy on the stage 2 is just way too slow. Okay. Up next we have the Tauros, and this was the other good single strike Pokemon I was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So for 2 energy, it does 20 damage plus 20 for each damage counter on him, and then he auto confuses himself. Or for 2 energy, he does 80, and then he hits himself for 30. So the thing is, he's not very bulky. Like realistically, he's not gonna live any hits. But the important thing to note is the Houndoom from Battle Styles. When you accelerate the energy, you also put 2 damage counters on it. So
So it's doing 60.
60, or no, it's yeah, I'll do 60. But then you combo that with another one.
Mm-hmm.
You're doing 40 more, so 100. But then you also add the fact that the energy you're attaching makes it so that he does 20 more damage per energy. So he's doing
Oh.
2 for 140 right there. Plus, there's also right now a Jinx in format that allows you to move energy damage 1 damage counter on your side of the field per turn. So, like if you play something like the Spirit Tomb that just punches itself, you can have the Spirit Tomb hit itself for 10 as the ability.
Mm-hmm.
Use the Jinx to move a damage counter on this Tauros, and yeah, you have a pretty decent like self hitting deck, I guess, self punching deck. There's also a stadium that whenever a Pokemon retreats during your turn, it takes 2 damage. You place 2 damage counters on it. So if you have that, you retreat the Tauros, and then like you play a switch again. Like you can actually have Tauros hit itself quite a lot in one turn.
Mhm.
So I think how the deck works is you run this Tauros, and then you run like the Lycanroc maybe as your finisher for once you have like all of them in the discard pile. Just because now your Lycanroc's going to be hitting like 200 damage. But I think Tauros is really interesting. Like it confuses itself, so it's like if it's somehow if like you hit with like 10 damage counters on it and it survives somehow, you're still confused. So now you're on a coin flip on if you even attack next turn. But I don't know. I was really surprised when I read this card. It seems decently strong.
Mhm.
Porygon Z is not that good. Whenever you attach an energy to it, they're confused, but you're stage 2 with 140 HP. There's just better ways to confuse them if you really want to. Tornadus V. Tornadus V is kind of cool. Um, for one colorless energy, 20 plus 20 if there's a stadium. There's all like in this format, there's almost always a stadium attached. So 1 for 40 is all right. You can combine it though with the single strike energy, so it's 1 for 60. So it's actually not the worst thing for setting up. Weak to lightning though absolutely sucks
Mhm.
because you're weak to Pikarom, which is one of the more popular decks in the format. Somehow, like Pikarom just refuses to die. Like I'm 99% sure I've seen it on 3 different occasions where people are like, "Okay, Pikarom is dead," and then Pikarom sees no play for a week, and then like the following month after that week, it just like tops every tournament.
Is it just because it's cheap? Because that's the whole reason why I started playing Pokemon. Is I told people I'm like, hey, I want to play
I
Pokemon, but I don't want to spend a lot of money, and they told me build Pikarom.
I don't think it's just because I think that that might have something to do with it, but you still see top players who have like every card they could ever dream of online playing Pikarom still. So that tells me that it's still really good. Like because people can get demo accounts
Mm-hmm.
and then they can so they get every card 4 of, but they still play these Pikarom decks.
How do you get demo accounts? What?
You have to like be a well-known content creator basically and be
Aw,
well like
one day.
super liked. Yeah, one day I'll get the demo account. No, but the thing is, people generally don't like it when you use demo accounts in tournaments.
Mm-hmm.
So because the people with the demo accounts, they still have other accounts they use for things like these online tournaments, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they do kind of have access to anything they want, and they're still playing Pikarom. But moving on to Tornadus VMAX, 2 for 60 on a VMAX, that's just awful. I don't know why that's a thing. But then 4 for 120. If there's a stadium in play, it does 120 more, and then you discard the stadium. So 240, not terrible. Especially when you combine the single strike energy, you can start pushing like close to 300. So the cards, I think a lot of people said this card was terrible when it was first spoiled. I want to go as far to say it's terrible. I think if you like want to play like the single strike VMAX deck, if you wanted to try out like a Tornadus build, I wouldn't call you crazy personally. I see the merit in trying this out over the fighting type VMAX.
Mm-hmm.
Mainly because this doesn't have this, you're only discarding a stadium. You don't have to discard 4 energy, so it's easier to chain attacks with him. But your weakness is absolutely awful. So moving on to the trainers now. Survival kit is look at the bottom 3 cards of your deck and then place them on the top in any order. So the first card that comes to mind is Marnie.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're
Oh,
really afraid
yeah.
of if you're really afraid of Marnie, I guess, but this only puts them on the top. So you need to like play this to get those cards back, and then you need to play another card to draw them. Just seems too slow and not super good. I don't think Marnie is that disruptive to where you're gonna wanna like put 1 or 2 of these in your decks,
Yeah.
right?
Well, wouldn't you have to
Like I
draw
don't
this off the Marnie?
yeah, you would also have to draw it off the
Yeah.
Marnie too, right? It's not that good. Although it is an interesting effect. I will give it
Mm-hmm.
that. Imposing Helmet seems like it can be annoying. When the Pokemon this card's attached to is your active Pokemon and is damaged from an attack, choose an energy attached to the active Pokemon and return it to their hands. that can be pretty decent energy disruption.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing spectacular, but it can't. That in
Just
some
annoying.
actually against Dragapult, that can be pretty decent. They hit it and now they have to return it because Dragapult VMAX is a deck that doesn't play energy acceleration because it only needs 2 energy, so it's really reliant on that once per turn. But if they have to attack into this, they're forced to always attach to the active. And if you're always hitting the active Pokemon, there's going to be a point where like you're not going to want to attach to the active because it's just going to die next turn, and now you have to take 2 turns to power up your next one.
Mm-hmm.
Next, we have Single Strike Scroll of Stab. I just love that name because you definitely know it's not going to be called that here. But this tool is just not good. The other Single Strike Scroll is a lot from Battle Styles is just a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
This is just 120, and then it's not being affected by anything is good, but there's little reason to play it over the other one.
Mm-hmm.
That's like 10 plus 10 for each damage counter on it, and because that's only one fighting. So up next we have these gloves, and it looks like we're getting a glove for each type. And what these gloves do is if your opponent's active Pokemon is type X, you do 30 more damage. So these ones are fire and metal. I guess if you're really afraid of some like metal or fire decks for these gloves specifically, you play them. Something that's interesting to note is the Empoleon V only does 130. So if you combine these fireproof gloves, it does 160. It now with weakness will one shot things like Centiskorch VMAX and Victini VMAX.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe in that like a more Empoleon centric deck, although I don't think Empoleon's worth running as like a main attacker. But it's interesting to note that if you can turn these like 130s into 160s, and now with weakness, you times that by 2 to get to 320, you can start one shotting VMAXs. So if one shotting a specific VMAX or a type of VMAX is what your deck needs to do, you might run the glove that corresponds with that type. We only see 2 here, but there's more in the other sets. So moving on to supporters, we have Single Strike Flannery. Choose a special energy attached to one of your opponent's Pokemon and a stadium, and any stadium card in play and discard them. It's not terrible. I think it might. I think control decks in standard might play this just as it's a guaranteed energy disruption. But in expanded, Faba is just strictly better because you only get to choose an energy or a stadium, not both, but they get sent to the Lost Zone, which is the Pokemon equivalent of banished.
Yeah.
And we still have no way to interact with the Lost Zone. There's cards that do stuff for like there being cards in the Lost Zone, but nothing. You cannot grab cards from the Lost Zone back into your hand. So that's why Faba is just strictly better and expanded.
How long have there
Having
been
this,
cards that interact with the Lost Zone? Like since the beginning, or?
when did the Lost Zone? I think that started with the Heart Gold Silver block, and then they brought it back in Lost Thunder. Oh no, they brought it back with Prism Stars because that's where they go after they get KO'd.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
But they haven't done anything. They haven't done anything since they've stopped printing Prism Stars. But yeah, Doctor, draw 2 if your opponent's active Pokemon is a VMAX. Draw 2 more. Nah, card's not good.
I would want her to be my doctor. I'm just pointing that out right here.
God damn it. Up next we have Penny. I don't know how to say this guy's name. You discard your hand, and then you search your deck for 2 trainers and put them into your hand. So this card's very comparable to Green's. Green's exploration is search your deck for 2 trainers, put them into your hand, but you cannot play it if you have any abilities in play.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have that restriction, but your restriction is you only have the 2 cards left in your hand. So this card's actually like I guess like left arm offering. In a sense.
Okay.
But the thing is, there's 2 cards you would have to play if you're playing this card, and it's either Rose Tower or Kricketune V, because those are cards that are once per turn you can draw, so you have 3 cards in your hand. So playing this just to grab like 2 specific trainer cards can be very good.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can think of like ADP, for example. if you go seconds, the two trainers you always want to see are Metal Saucer and Energy Switch, because you Metal Saucer and Energy onto your Zacian, you Energy Switch that onto your ADP, you attach the water, or you already have the water attached, and then you get the altered creation for the full effects.
Mm-hmm.
Now you do have to play the Cricketune V with this card, otherwise you're gonna have no cards left in your hand after that. So this card, you do need to play other cards with this card, but the ability just to search for two trainers is incredibly powerful. So how good this card is, I guess we'll see in the future, but it's a card to look out for and a
And
card to be aware of.
and hey, if you just so happen to have a bunch of stadiums in your hand, then you could
It's
could play those
no, it's
cast
perfect.
forms.
You know what you do? You have 7 stadiums in hand.
Mm-hmm.
You play this, you search for another stadium because stadiums are trainers,
Mm-hmm.
and you search for quick ball.
Easy. Discard
Because now
search
you quick
Pokemon.
ball away, you grab like your Crobat to draw 6, and now you have your 8 stadiums.
There
All
you
you need
go.
to do is hard draw 7 stadiums. You know what? That sounds super easy,
This
man.
actually sounds like a pretty good deck now, and that we're building it.
Tier 0 incoming. So the next card we have is Melanie. She's been dubbed the Water Welder, because she does very similar things.
Ooh,
But
hello.
instead of attaching from your hand, you attach one water energy from your discard pile to to one of your Pokemon V, then draw 3. So I'm just gonna just so to let you know, Pokemon V Maxes are considered Pokemon V.
Mm-hmm.
So this does work with Calyrex.
Oh
This card is
wow.
why I think this card is why I think Ice Rider Calyrex is actually really decent, because you can discard the 2 energies to do 250. Then you play this next turn, do your manual attachment for the turn. Boom, you can do it again. But
Holy crap.
with uh with Ice Rider again, you are weak to Zacian, so you're not probably going to see play.
That is a really good effect though. Even though it's a supporter, just yeah,
Yeah,
attaching an energy and then getting to draw 3, I feel like that in itself is a pretty good card.
Welder has seen play like basically nonstop since it got printed. Now the thing with Welder is it's not restricted to a type of Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
My problem with this card is it can only be onto Pokemon V. I really wish this worked on non-Pokemon V as well.
Mm-hmm.
Or if they really wanted to, I think what they should have done if they were worried about about just attaching this to to other things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think it should just say to a water type Pokemon,
Or yeah.
because then all of a sudden, like the Inteleon from Base Sword and Shield, like the non V one, actually becomes fairly decent with this card. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's like a pretty decent engine. And then you like the Inteleon, you can attack with it if you need be. That's my only problem with the card, is that like in the next like 4 years or whatever, when the next generation comes out, because every generation they swap like what those fancy 2 prizes are, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like we had EXs, then GXs, and now Vs. So the problem is this card's not going to age as well as Welder is,
Mm-hmm.
because Welder will be fine until the day it's banned. But with this, it's restricted to Vs, which really sucks in my opinion. Oh, and Path to the Peak. This card's really good too. Stadium. Each Pokemon in play with a rule box has no abilities. So if you're unaware, a rule box essentially just it's that little text that says
The green one at the bottom,
V.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
usually in the bottom right, it says like V rule. When your Pokemon V is knocked out, you take 2. Your opponent takes 2 prizes.
Yeah.
So this encompasses like EXs, GXs, Vs, V maxes, breaks, and Prism Stars.
That's kind of
So,
nuts.
yeah, this encompasses quite a lot. It's strictly better Power Plant, as Power Plant is only GXs and EXs.
Mm-hmm.
So this is just strictly better. Um, and Power Plant does see play, so this will also most likely see play. It will most likely replace Power Plant in a lot of decks.
You could like stop the Zacian deck with this, right?
Yeah, but the thing is, they can just play another stadium and get rid of it.
Uh okay.
Because the way stadiums work, like with the really old
Only allowed
fields
one. Yeah.
in Yu-Gi-Oh, to where like there can only be one,
Mm-hmm.
because it's a shared zone in the game,
Yeah.
right? Like if you ever see like well, no, when you play online, right? Like they go in that one location,
Yeah.
and it's a shared location.
Yeah, the
Um,
only stadium I play is pretty much built for that. It's the one I forget the name, but it's you play your stadium, and then if your opponent plays a stadium, it just automatically gets destroyed
oh,
or
chaotic
discarded.
swell. Yeah,
Yep,
that
that.
card, that stadium's nuts. Like that card's really good.
Mm-hmm.
Like that card was really good because back in the day, a lot of card like decks just didn't want to play a stadium. So now those decks that like they don't have a good stadium for them, they just play that because
Yeah.
it just prevents the opponent from playing their stadium. Okay, moving on, we're seeing impact energy, and I'm seeing the editor's notes for the first time here, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm quite sad on it.
Okay.
But before we get to that, this card can only be attached to a single strike Pokemon. If it's attached to anything other than a single strike Pokemon, discard it. And now, as long as this card's attached to a Pokemon, it's a rainbow energy, but only provides one at a time. And if it's poisoned, it's no longer poisoned and cannot be poisoned. Reading this editor note makes me really sad
Mm-hmm.
because, according to Tony Lay, they're a player from Japan. They're one of the most reliable translators we have. In
Mm-hmm.
fact, a lot of websites uses their translations for like these pages. And now reading this, it says um, because Houndoom ability states it attaches a single strike energy card from your deck to your one of your single strike Pokemon. And I guess what everyone thought is when it said that they were specifying like that thing you see in the top right corner.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, with Houndoom, it's stating the one energy. So, yeah, this card just got a lot worse in my
Wait, what?
opinion.
So
Yeah,
so you even though it is a single strike energy, you can't
it's not
use
a it's not
Houndooms?
a single strike energy card because the other one is called single strike energy, and
Oh.
that's what Houndoom is referring to.
Okay. Yep.
So this really sucks because I thought this card was good because you would just play this because sometimes a problem with like Houndoom based decks is you don't have any single strike energy cards left in your deck and you can't find your Urn of Vitality to put them back in the deck.
Mm-hmm.
So this card just got a lot worse.
Okay.
That's that
So
really sucks.
so this is a single strike energy, but it's not single strike energy.
Yeah, yeah, that's a way to put it, I
And
guess.
that's
Yeah.
what Houndoom searches is just specifically the card that reads single strike energy.
Yeah. That
Okay.
that really sucks. I actually like I'm actually a little salty because I thought Creatures Inc., the company that makes and designs the card in Japan,
Mm-hmm.
I really thought they were like on a really good track with like the single strike rapid strike stuff back when they spoiled it a few months ago. This just shows me that they did not future proof them at all,
Yeah.
and that's really unfortunate.
Okay, well Lane,
Hopefully,
oh go ahead.
sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm just gonna say, hopefully, like this is wrong, but like I'm 99% sure that what Tony Lay says is true.
Yeah.
So this sucks.
Okay. Well, we've reached the end of the first set. Now, one thing I want to ask you before we move into the second set, which is Jet Black Spirit, is roughly read through these, right? Like you've seen these before.
Yeah, I was briefly looking at the translations. I actually follow Tony Lay on Twitter, so I was just reading
Okay.
their translation as they were doing them. I
Okay.
haven't really looked at this page yet though.
So, just from what you've seen, which of these two, Silver Lance and Jet Black Spirit, do you think is the better set? Even though we're getting them both combined in Chilling Reign, like in the OCG, which one of these do you think has the better cards in general?
Um, I think Jet Black Spirit has the better V Pokemon,
Mm-hmm.
but the Silver Lance has like the better non V stuff.
Okay.
So like the because I think the Curly is like really powerful. I think it's actually probably one of the most powerful non V Pokemon we've seen in such a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Just because like how much like the consistency it brings. But just looking at the V's, I can see Zeraora, Shadow Rider, and Blissey are all worth noting. The other ones are kind of meh.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas from Silver Lance, the only ones that I really like are Ice Rider, um, Lipard's like an okay card in Eternatus,
Mm-hmm.
And then Galarian Rapidash you can do some cool things with, but it's not spectacular, right?
Mm.
And then Tornadus is it's kind of a bad single strike Urshifu, but there's merit to playing it, I guess. So
Okay, well, with that being said, let's move on to Jet Black Spirit. Which card are we starting with first?
we're gonna start with the Ledian. It's not good. I just want to bring it up because I really like Ledian and Jumpluff.
Hmm.
I don't know why. They're honestly like two of my favorite Pokemon. But Ledian, I don't think has ever had a good card. I just want there to be a good Ledian.
I feel the same way about my favorite Pokemon. Although I know there's no way we'll ever get a good version of it. My favorite Pokemon is Fampy, and
Vampy.
I
Oh yeah.
absolutely hate Donphan.
Oh, that's a problem.
The only deck that I can play if I want to play Fampy is that Donphan Spiritomb deck that someone
Yeah,
made or something.
I was gonna say there's a decent fan feed with like it does like more damage for each damage counter on it. So you play that with the Dawn fan because
Yeah,
then there's there's a card there's some energy that allows you to use the previous evolution's attacks.
yeah.
I'm like, yeah, if you don't like Dawn fan, that's just a rip.
I might have to nut up and maybe try it just so that I can have my little boy in the deck. But yeah, I don't think we're ever gonna see a good Fampy card.
Unfortunate. So I guess we should bring up Celebi V's and
Hmm.
VMAX. Even though I think they're bad, it's still worth to bring up V's.
Love Celebi.
Um, so actually reading this first attack on Celebi V is not the worst. Attach any number of grass energy from your hand to your Pokemon in any way you like. It's not terrible, I
Hmm.
guess. Like if you're going first, or if I guess if you're going second and it's your first turn, like if you can find 3 or 4 grass energies, that can be really powerful. But I do think for grass types, similar to Zarude, I just feel like if you're a grass type deck, it's so much better just to go aggro and then evolve into a Rillaboom because now it's every turn you're going to search your deck for 2 grass Pokemon, or sorry, 2 grass energies, and then put them anyway, attach them to one of your Pokemon. So yeah, as long as aggro exists, this card's kind of irrelevant.
Hmm.
2 for 60 and switch, no, not good.
No.
Generally speaking, these switch effects have to be like 1 energy to be good. Like you
Hmm.
hit for 1 energy and then you retreat. Because there's a Dawn fan from like Plasma Storm, I think, that actually saw a lot of play back when Furious Fist came out. And that's because it only took 1 energy to do that switch, right?
Hmm.
You switch into like your poke. Back then, we had Robo Sub, which is the same thing as Pokédoll. So you'd hit, switch into that. They attack, don't take a knockout. But that was only really good because Donphan only needed 1 energy. People have tried the Crobat VMAX, but because it needs 2, it's just not that great.
Hmm.
Celebi VMAX is once during your turn, you may heal 20 damage from each of your grass Pokemon. I mean, like, that can be pretty decent if you get multiples of these out. You can become a tanky deck, but I don't, even if you have like 2 or 3 of these in play, like, Zacian's still 2-shotting you.
Yeah.
So that sucks. And the funny thing is because of resistance, Celebi's max plants, 3 shots of Zacian in return. Like, that just feels awful.
Yeah.
There's also the fact that fire decks are really popular. Like Scorch just dropped out of favor in terms of Victini, but Victini is going to be really good post rotation. So yeah, this card's really bad. I think this has to be like a bottom 5 VMAX.
Hmm.
Um C dots. Oh, I guess our Nuzleaf and our Shiftries are dark type. That's why we don't have them here.
Hmm.
So here we have Rillaboom line. No real point in playing any of these, as we already have a 70 HP Grookey,
Hmm.
and there's a Thwacky that has an ability where if you have a Stadium in play, it has free retreat. So
Hmm.
you would never run this one over that one, even though this one has the Rapid Strike tag. The Rillaboom's kind of cool. You can discard energy from any of your Pokemon in play, and it does 30 more for each energy discarded. But I don't see why you would want to play this one over the. Well, you would play this one with the one that accelerates the energy, right?
Hmm.
But there's. I would rather just attach it to Aggro or a Mewtwo and tag team. So, and 3 for 60 and heal 30 is like just not good. Like you heal 30 and then Zacian still one shots you.
Mm-hmm.
Like what's the point? Um Weavile's kind of cool. Search your deck for 2 cards, put them into your hand. But on a stage 1, I feel like that's too slow.
Mm-hmm.
Its first attack is if the defending Pokemon takes damage from one of your Rapid Strike during your next turn, it is knocked out. We've seen effects like these on Beedrills before, but Beedrill is a stage 2, but I still don't think this is good. That's way too slow. Like, why 2-shot with a with like a Rapid Strike Pokemon when Zacian can just one-shot it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Rain cast form, same problem as always. You're not playing 10 stadiums in a deck. Up next, we have Tapu Fini. 1 water, 30, and then you can switch. And then 3 for 120, bounce an energy from this Pokemon to your hand. This might become the preferred non V water type Pokemon in Frostmoth decks, as it only has 1 retreat, and 3 for 120 is decentish. But other than that, I don't think you would want to play this in anything other than Frostmoth. It
Mm-hmm.
is nice that you can power up the second attack with Rapid Strike energy, but I feel like you'd rather just attach that to an Empoleon V or a like Urshifu V, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Although interesting enough, you can hit for 30 and then switch into the Empoleon V to prevent them from doing abilities or their non-rule box abilities on basics. So I guess that's a thing. Up next, we have Arctivish V. 3 for 80. If the defending Pokemon is a V or a GX, it cannot attack during your opponent's next turn. And then 4 for 220, it cannot attack. So this card's honestly not that great because Melanie only attaches 1 energy. So you can never use that first attack. You can never just bench this and then use that first attack unless you have a Frostmoth,
Mm-hmm.
because you're only going to get 2 energy on it. I think if the first attack was 2 energy and it did say 60 damage, it would probably be decent. Like it'd be more playable than it is. It's also funny to note that this brings up V and GX, even though we have like the rule box clause now.
Yeah.
So, like, I guess they're just worried about like this card being like locking people out of the game 5 years later when we're on Pokemon X or whatever. But I don't get it because the card's not good. Like 3 energy is too much for that ability for that attack.
Mm-hmm.
4 for 220, I believe, um, means it hits harder than Lapras for your non-water Vs,
Mm-hmm.
but you play Lapras to evolve into Lapras VMAX. So yeah, card's not that great. Shout out to my buddy Joel because Ampharos is his favorite Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
This card's not good. It's just he likes Ampharos. um, I know people have been talking about this Blitzel art because it's actually hilarious.
Whoa,
Just
wait,
standing,
what?
he's just standing in the middle of the ocean on an iceberg. Although funny enough, there is actual reason to bring up this Blitzel. So with telescopic sight and this Pissimian that will be coming out in Chilling Rain, but not in this set.
Mm-hmm.
Um, this thing can do 1 lightning energy, 70 damage to a bench V. So
Oh God.
yeah, not crazy, like not terrible, but like probably still not good. Probably not worth running.
Mm-hmm.
But it is kind of cool that it can just do 1 for 70 to a bench like Crobat or something. Zebstrika. So Zebstrika has this. If any of your other Rapid Strike Pokemon use an attack during your last turn, this does 90 more damage. So it's 1 for 120 with a colorless energy. So not the worst, but the problem is it's restricted to Rapid Strike Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
And if you go first, you're not going to get the full damage because you can attack on your first turn. So like you
Yeah.
go first, you bench these. It's like, okay, now I'm going to hit 1 for 30, and now I get my train going. But eh,
I do like its
the fact
second
that
attack though.
flip a coin till you get tails, this attack does 90 for each heads. I think that's the highest one for these attacks.
Yeah, I've seen this kind of attack before. I don't know, I really like that.
Oh, did I don't think I've ever told you guys about the time like this would have been back in like 2013.
Mhm.
But some kid high rolled one of these attacks against me. It was like the best thing like we've ever seen, and at like Galaxy when we were playing.
So is that how you do it in
I
Pokemon? Like you don't actually use coins? Do you guys just roll dice?
generally speaking, people just roll dice, and then evens is heads, tails is
Yeah.
odds. Um, like you can use coins because there's always a coin in like a theme deck or something.
Yeah.
But dice is just more. It's easier. Plus, it's easier to keep track of the dice, right? Like you just roll it, and like you know it's gonna stay like right. You know exactly where it's gonna end up.
Yeah.
But actually I lied. Steelix EX for 4 energy has this attack, but it's 100
Oh my
until you get
god.
yeah, but it's not good. Zera Aura V. This thing is quite interesting. So it has that same clause as Zebstrika, but it does something completely different. So instead of just doing more damage, it does 160 to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. That's kind of crazy.
Mhm.
That one shot's a Dedenne. So I think if you can ever get to a point to where you can like chain Zero Aura attacks, this card can be kind of nuts
Mhm.
because you can combine it with that Pissimian or Telescopic Sight, and now you're doing 190 or 220 to the bench. 220
That's
one shots,
crazy.
220 one shots like things like Zacian. It'll one
Mhm.
shot like Zero Aura V's, for example. But if you're missing one of those pieces, you're still doing 190, which one shots a Crobat V.
Mhm.
The important thing to note right now is that if we do rotate to sword and shield on, there is no bench protection from attacks like this because that
Because
Mew
of
will be
Mew.
gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mew will rotate. Well, I think Mew's rotating out no matter what.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, like having this 160 snipe is kind of insane. So if you can chain these, that's almost like chaining a tag bolt every turn, right?
Mhm.
That's kind of crazy. The next thing to bring up is Gengar. It's actually this Gengar is really disappointing. Like the ability is kind of cool because it's like Marnie proof, reset stamp proof. But the thing with it is its attack. Its attack needs 3 energy and it does 40 more for each damage counter on your opponent's active Pokemon.
Eh.
There's a Sable IV from Base Sun Moon. Sorry, Base Sword Shield that has this exact same attack, but it's 2 dark energy and it's 60 per damage counter.
Is it still
Why
10
is it
plus?
It's 10 plus 60
Yeah.
for each damage counter, yes.
Okay.
So why is it that a stage 2 Pokemon that's way harder to get out needs one more energy? Why is it doing less damage than a basic?
It's that tongue though.
You can argue that you can use a triple acceleration with this, I guess, but
Mhm.
that's not
Feasible.
at minimum. This should be 60 plus, like the Sableye.
Yeah.
Yeah, the art is pretty good though. I do like Gengar always has like these really good arts.
Mhm.
The next thing that's worth noting is Cresselia. So, do you know about the Volcanion that like a lot of the fire decks play?
I've seen it every now and then, yeah.
Okay, this is pretty much the psychic equivalent.
Mhm.
You search your deck for a psychic energy attached to one of your Pokemon. If you go seconds and it's your first turn, search for 3 instead. The problem is though, is this only goes to 1. All 3 have to go on one Pokemon. The thing with Volcanion is at the very least you can kind of
Choose.
mix it around where you want it to go.
Yeah.
This means you're a lot weaker to things like boss's orders, but it's still good. That's still really good energy acceleration. Like Heatran still sees play even though fire decks have welder. So that should tell you how good just 3 energy on your first turn is.
Mhm.
The attack's also very similar. It's if you have 5 or more energy in play, it does 90 more damage. Uh so this will do 10 more damage compared to Volk. This will do 120, whereas Volk's only 110. But
Mhm.
I still think Volk's better because Volk only needs 4 energy in play. So overall, Volcanion's a better card, but this is still a good card to have and a
Mhm.
good card to keep in mind for some psychic decks. What do we have? Ooh, we have Malamar, Rapid Strike Malamar. This thing's kind of cool. You may reveal any number of Rapid Strike cards from your hands, and then it does 40 damage times the number of cards revealed, and then you shuffle all those into your deck. So you can do some big damage with this. Like it's a theoretical infinite damage hit, but losing the cards sucks. I guess it's not as bad as discarding them, but having to redraw those cards seems like it can be kind of tough, but still kind of cool. Okay, so up next we have the Shadow Rider Calyrex. Now, because the set was based off Calyrex, you can tell that the Ice Rider and these ones were both like kind of pushed compared to the other cards.
Yeah.
So this Shadow Rider Calyrex, it's actually like I think it's pretty decent, even without its VMAX. Its first attack for a Psychic Energy does 10 damage, which is really low, but your opponent cannot play special energy cards or stadiums from their hand during their next turn. So there's the counter to the cast form deck. Like
Mm-hmm.
if they can't play stadiums, now they have to discard them from their hand, right? It just makes them that it just makes that deck that much harder to get set up. But preventing your opponent from attaching special or playing stadiums is pretty decent. There's a Giratina EX way long ago that did the same effects. It was 4 energy and it did 100 damage, but it's still a like that's a really good attack if you go seconds and like you can slow down some decks with that. There's some, like preventing a um rapid strike deck from attaching their rapid strike energy can be huge.
Mm-hmm.
And then second attack for 3 colorless energy, you choose 2 of your opponent's Pokemon and you place 5 damage counters on it. I think this actually might see play and expanded in the Fates Collide Mew box deck. So what you do is you combine this with Dimension Valley, which makes it so it only costs 2 colorless, not 3, and now double colorless energy fulfills that requirement. And the important thing to note about this card is that it's placing damage counters, not dealing damage.
Mm-hmm.
So it gets around cards like Bench Barrier Mew or Mr. Mime, as usually Mr. Mime's played and expanded because it
Mm-hmm.
has more health. But getting around that can be pretty good. So this plays around things like that. You can a lot of the wait times that Mew deck wins is off copying Cramorant's attack. So this can help set up for Cramorant.
Mm-hmm.
And now Shadow Rider Calyrex VMAX. This is a card, all right. Once during your turn, you may attach a Psychic Energy card to one of your bench Psychic type Pokemon, then draw 2 cards.
Okay.
It's literally a Psychic Welder on an ability. That's
Wow.
crazy. And then its attack is 10 plus 30 for each Psychic attached to your Pokemon in play. So like the obvious combo is you start with your Cresselia, you put all 3 on your Shadow Rider, yeah, Shadow Rider V. You go into this, and now this starts accelerating other energy, and
Yep.
now next thing you know, this thing's swinging for a lot of damage. The thing that sucks about it is it's weak to Dark, so it's weak to Eternatus.
Mm-hmm.
But a card that we will be getting out at the same time kind of fixes that. It's Galarian Zapdos.
Mm-hmm.
That card kind of destroys Eternatus. Like I have a hard time seeing Eternatus being good with that card existing.
Yeah, one thing I really do like about this card, it's mainly because, like I said, the only deck that I really have any knowledge about is Pikarom. That's the deck that I play. And
Mm-hmm.
this second effect, in my opinion, the best card in the Pikarom deck is Boltund. And this is basically just like Boltund on crack. And I really
Actually, I
like
think
it.
that attack is identical to Bolton's, is it not? I'm
It's
pretty sure Bolton's
Boltund's
is
2
almost
energy,
30.
and that's it.
Yeah, so this is arguably worse because it takes 3, right?
Yeah, but then
But
you have
it's
the
because of the
ability.
ability. Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing though with Bolton is you also have to remember that Pikarom accelerates 3 energy off its attack.
Yeah.
Now this obviously is still accelerating, but the thing is with Pikarom both like sets up knockout while accelerating.
Mm-hmm.
And 3 energy. The thing is, this can only attach to the bench. So if it's active and it only has 1, you have to find a way to retreat it. Not the
Mm-hmm.
hardest thing to do in the world, but still worth noting. Um, I'm on the fence on if this is better than Dragapult or not.
Mm-hmm.
This card's obviously very powerful, but Dragapult's like the only time Dragapult was bad was when Eternatus was left uncheck.
Mm-hmm.
But as like if you can check Eternatus, Dragapult's always been consistently showing that it's a good card. So is this better than Dragapult? It's hard to say. This card I believe has a higher ceiling than Dragapult,
Mm-hmm.
but Dragapult's just that nice consistent card, right? So I guess we'll see what you want. Do you want like consistency or do you want more power?
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not going to deny this ability is insanely strong. This card will most likely see play when
Mhm.
it comes out. Like there will be people testing this card extensively or decks with this card
Mhm.
extensively. There's no denying that. Not very good, but Seismitoad, it's interesting to see this during your next turn, the defending Pokemon's attacks and retreat cost are increased by colorless. We sometimes see one of those effects being applied. I don't think we've seen both of them being applied at once though.
Mhm.
The card still sucks though, but it's cool that like both of those effects are being applied at once now.
Dude, this artwork is I'm gonna have nightmares tonight about this artwork.
Him just popping out of that hole,
Yeah, he's in like
just
he's got
ready
like
to
the manlet stance. Looks like he's coming towards me. And I don't
yeah.
like it, dude. I'm uncomfortable.
And the scary thing is he's gonna punch you, and then it's gonna be harder for you to fight back and run away.
Oh my
It's gonna
god.
it's gonna take you more energy to do either.
No, not a
We
fan.
have this grapple lock, and I don't know why they just refuse to give this thing a good card. Like I think like this thing is consistently always terrible.
Mhm.
It always has something to do with it increasing the retreat cost of the opponent's Pokemon,
Mhm.
which can be a good effect, but this has to be active. This doesn't work on the bench.
Mhm.
So it's terrible because its attack sucks. Like 80 plus 80 if you have the same number of cards in hand. So 160 is not the worst, I guess. But for 3 energy, one of those has to be a fighting type, and it's not a single or rapid strike card.
Mhm.
Like they just don't like Grapple Lock for some reason. Which kind of sucks because Clobopus is one of my favorite like Sword Shield Pokemon.
Mhm.
I'm kind of like the same way on you with Fanfi and Donphan. I really like the basic. I just hate the stage 1.
Oh, this is
Um
Clavipus. Yeah, this guy's so adorable.
I know, right? He's great. He's just an octopus with boxing gloves. What's not to love? But then like this Gravelock thing, I hate how it has like the one tentacle permanently wrapped around it. I
Mhm.
don't know, it just doesn't look good. But Clobopus, he's my man. If I was like in the anime, Clobopus would be my guy
Yep.
I would never evolve. I'd be like going against the gym leader, and it's like, no, I'm never evolving you, Clobopus. Don't you worry. So up next we have Wheezing and Galarian Wheezing. I think it's important to talk about the Galarian Wheezing first.
Mhm.
So its ability is each basic dark attached to your Pokemon with Wheezing in play provides dark.
Mhm.
You cannot apply more than one of this ability at a time. And now the Wheezing's attack does 20 plus 20 for each dark type energy attached to all your Pokemon in play. So your obvious synergy here is you just get out a Galarian Wheezing to double the energy on your regular Wheezings, and
Mhm.
now Wheezing can attack for a single energy. Um, we've seen dark box style decks being played in the past. I believe the second Darkrai EX has the exact same attack on the
Mhm.
bottom. This is obviously on a stage 1 though, but it does have the support with the Galarian Wheezing. I don't think it's good enough, unfortunately, because like you have the inconsistencies of a stage 1, and you also kind of want to get out 2 different stage 1s, right?
Mhm.
Not saying stage 1s generally aren't inconsistent. It's just obviously they're like less consistent than basics. And the fact that the wheezing only works for Pokemon that have wheezing in their name kind of sucks because we do have a Galarian Moltres coming out that is once per turn from your discard, you attach a dark energy to it.
Mhm.
So, like, you'd want to play that in this deck because, like, it's just a free 20 damage and an energy in play. I just don't think it's going to scale up fast enough. I don't think you can get enough dark energies in play fast enough to where this thing's a threat.
Mhm.
I think by the time this thing's a threat, your opponent's going to have like 2 prizes left, so it's going to be like done, right? Like the game's basically over.
Yeah.
But you know, maybe someone will surprise me. Maybe someone will do well with it.
Mhm.
It's one of those cards I wouldn't be super surprised if I'm seeing someone do well with it. It's something I'd be surprised if it's like consistently doing well, right?
Mhm.
Like if someone tops an online tournament with it, I'm like, oh, that's not unsurprising, I guess. Like the card, I do see the potential in the card. But if
Mhm.
it's something that's like topping every week, then I'm gonna be like, huh, I severely underestimated this. The next thing that is I guess we're gonna bring up is the Metagross V. Actually, it's funny enough. Funny enough, I think the single strike thing works really well with Metagross's color scheme, like that
Yeah.
blue.
Yep.
Like it works really well with Metagross. Unfortunately, Metagross is not very good. One
Rip
one
Miko.
for 20, flip 2 coins. If heads, for each heads, it does 20 more. So it can do one for 60. It's going to be doing on average one for 40.
Mm-hmm.
And then 2 energy, 60. If Metagross and the defending have the same energy attached, it does 90 more damage. So 150. Um, again, because if this was like double colorless or something, it would actually be kind of decent because of the single strike energy,
Mm-hmm.
or sorry, the rapid strike energy. But because that one provides 2 energy at a time, but it only provides water and fighting, so it doesn't really work with Metagross.
Yeah.
Um, the Metagross VMAX, the first attack is search your deck for 2 cards and put them into your hand. Shuffle your deck afterwards. That is a pretty decently powerful effect, but I don't think you want to be doing that on your VMAX,
Mm-hmm.
because now you're just like you're leaving a 3 prizer active. You're also weak to fire, which really sucks. And it's that doesn't really work with its second attack, Gmax Rush, which does 2 for 100, and then during your next turn it does 150 more damage. So the thing is, I don't think you might know this, but effects like this go away if the Pokemon goes to the bench.
Oh no.
So yeah,
That
so
sucks.
if you attack and like let's say your opponent plays escape rope or they boss's order something out, or if you even just retreat during your next turn, you don't get that bonus effect.
Wow.
Yep. I don't think being a rapid strike Pokemon is going to save it.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I think one disappointing thing I have with this card is the VMAX doesn't look like a giant. This just looks like a like a regular Metagross.
I was
Like
gonna
I
say
don't
I'm
feel
looking at
like
the two pictures, and yeah, there's not much of a difference.
even the ones that don't change, like the not like the I believe like it's Dynamax and Gigantamax
Mm-hmm.
in the game. Even the ones that only Dynamax, like the older cards, still look like they're getting bigger.
Yeah.
But I guess just because Metagross like doesn't really have a lot of height to it, he's more vertical than he is horizontal. It doesn't look like
Mm-hmm.
he gains a lot of height. But again, like I do think this art looks, at the very least, this art looks good, and that single strike tag looks really good with it.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd still see no reason to play this over something like Corviknights if you really want to play a Metal VMAX deck.
Mm-hmm.
Cobalion's bad, no reason to play it over this Duraludon,
Yeah.
I think is how you say that guy from Rebel Clash. Blissey V is kind of interesting too. Uh, so whenever you attach an energy from your hand to this Pokemon, heal all special conditions. I mean, like, it's not terrible. Like, it could be better, but like if you're poisoned, just attaching to get rid of the poisoned or paralysis is really nice. And then its attack is Blissey Bomber. It does 10 damage, and then for each energy attached to it, it does 30 more. Then, once you're done dealing the damage, you may attach up to 3 energy cards from your discard pile to this Pokemon. So it's like Scorch on a basic, but I guess you're not hitting weakness and your base damage is lower.
Mm-hmm.
But still, being able to just rip 3 energies is really good. Something some people might bring up is that this is weak to fighting, but we have weak guard energy. So you attach like a weak guard to this, and then you just bring back more weak guards. So now they have to hit like 2 or 3 hammers in order to hit you for weakness.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about this card. I'm like on the fence on this card. I can see it being good, but I can also see it like just not being great. This card does have some things that are good with it. Like there is a powerful energy, which is the normal type this card's attached to, does 20 more damage, so that can help. And normal types do generally like the normal energies generally do have very powerful effects. It's just offset by the fact that they only provide colorless. So who knows? This card is very funny though. It's 250 HP, so
Mm-hmm.
it's tied with Steelix V for being the second bulkiest V Pokemon. Do you want to take a guess as who's the bulkiest?
Uh,
From Champion's Path, if that helps.
I have no idea.
It's Whale Lord V.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I am totally
Wailord
okay with that.
Wailord is I think Wailord's always that Pokemon that whenever there's like a new mechanic, it always has to be like the at the very top end of the curve for HP.
Yeah, it just wouldn't make sense if he wasn't. That's just
Yeah.
facts.
Yeah. So yeah, Blissey. I thought I saw some older players talking about how this card's very similar to an old Blissey card
Hmm.
that was very similar. I think they said it was like 10 plus like 10 or 10 plus 20 or something, and then you attached an energy from your discard pile to it. Granted, this also would have been like 15 years ago now
Yeah.
because I don't ever remember this card. But so like what's good 15 years ago, even if it's upscaled to match some today's mechanics, it might not be good, but I just find it hilarious that it attaches 3 energy to itself.
Hmm.
Like, that's so much. You cannot hammer the energy off this thing, it will get it back. Interesting. Also important to note that it does have 4 retreat costs, so it works with that Cape of Toughness to
Hmm.
give it 50 more HP. So this thing will probably have 300 HP most of the time you're looking at it.
Nice.
So it is really bulky.
Hmm.
Uh, I guess the next important thing to bring up is Greedent. Greedent's cool because its ability is prevent all effects of your opponent's item and supporter cards that would discard an energy from your Pokemon or return an energy from your Pokemon to the hand or deck.
Hmm.
So this card is printed strictly to counter Crushing Hammer. Um, on a stage 1 though, I don't know if that's good enough. Like, yes, Crushing Hammer is it's a super annoying card
Yep.
because it can the game we are at the point where the game is so fast that one Crushing Hammers can basically mean the difference between winning or losing.
Hmm.
Um, even at that, I don't know if it's worth adding this Scovet and Greedence into your deck. If we had Ditto Prism Star, I would say still legal and standard. I would say this card's probably worth running.
Hmm.
But without that, I don't think it's that good.
Yeah, because either you're hard drawing the Greedent or you're wasting a rare candy on it.
No, it's a stage 1, so you don't have to rare candy it.
Oh, you don't?
You can just evolve. No, you can just evolve it. It's a
Okay.
stage 1. But yeah, the thing, like I know I just said like Crushing Hammer can like turn the entire tide of a game.
Hmm.
But Crushing Hammer's not played in every deck, right?
Yeah.
So, and that isn't always the case with Crushing Hammer. So again, I think if we had Ditto Prism Star, in case you're unaware, is it had an ability that allowed it to evolve into any stage 1.
Okay.
It's one of my favorite cards of all time. It's just really well designed. So if
Hmm.
we still had that, then I could see you playing this in some stage 1 decks because you just play a 0-1 line and you can still reliably get this out. So moving on, we have a Fog Crystal. Search your deck for either a basic Psychic Pokemon or Energy card, and basic Psychic Energy only, and put them into your hand. Then shuffle your deck.
Hmm.
Yeah, this card is nuts. It's it's the Psychic type version of Netball, but this just means Shadow Rider. This card is definitely like a 5 out of 5. Like, this will see play. Now we have our grass and our lightning. No, our grass and our dark gloves. So yeah, same thing I said with the other ones. Like, if the 30 extra damage with weakness helps your matchup, then you run these. If not, you probably just ignore them.
Hmm.
Up next, we have Rapid Strike Scroll of Skies.
Oh, hold
Um,
on. I do want to mention one thing real quick. I think it's kind of funny, but the dark gloves, the name of the gloves are Justice gloves, and
yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
sure if they purposely made like a connection to like the Dark Knight and Justice, but I think that's really funny.
All right. So moving on to the Rapid Strike Scroll of this set. If this card is attached to a Rapid Strike, they gain the following attack. For a Lightning and a Colorless, it does 10 plus 50 for each more energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon.
Hmm.
That's really good because that can really punish a Pikarom if they decide to attach all the energy to the active. I'm pretty sure you just auto bomb that thing like to hell.
Hmm.
The thing that sucks about this though is that it does require a lightning, so it doesn't work super well with the Rapid Strike energy because again, that only provides water fighting. but we still have Tapu Koko in the formats.
Mm-hmm.
And Zeraora looks like it's going to be a decent enough lightning type rapid strike Pokemon to where I think this card probably will see some play in those decks. Just because, again, it can really punish players if they decide to attach too much energy,
Mm-hmm.
or it can just punish heavy energy costing decks. Like Blissey, for example. They bring back 3 energies. You're doing 150 more damage now. It's kind of crazy. You're halfway there to knocking it out. Um, this was so random, but we got a reprint of Caitlyn. Caitlyn was first printed in what was the Genesect set? The Genesect EX set. Plasma Blast. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why they decided to reprint her, but this card never saw play back then, and it's probably I highly doubt it's gonna see play now.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not that good. Just it's always a neg 1. And the thing is, Pokemon has such incredibly powerful draw power that a neg 1 on your supporter is probably really bad.
So, what is the so why wouldn't you play this instead of Marnie? Because then you can choose what you're putting down, right?
Yes, but the thing with so yeah, you can choose what to put into the bottom of your deck. Say, so if you have some pieces and you don't want to get rid of them, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of the times, your hand's only going to be like 6 cards,
Mm-hmm.
so like it's going to be the same as Marnie, right? But Marnie also has the benefit of you disrupting your opponents.
Okay.
Like very rarely will this card ever like you'll ever be. I'm honestly just trying to think of a scenario where you'd want to play this over Marnie,
Mm-hmm.
and the only times I'm thinking of it is like if your opponent has like 0 cards in their hands.
Okay.
Because you also have to remember in the late game, if you only have like 2 or 3 cards in your hands, this card sucks.
Yeah, that's true.
Like I like when your draw supporters, I don't think should ever be neg 1s.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have things like research, this card draws 7. You have Marnie, which always draws you 5. Cynthia always draws you 6, for example. Like if you're negging off those, it kind of sucks, but that's so few and far between, it never happens. Cards like that Peony, yes, you have to discard your hand, but being able to search for 2 like trainers is incredibly powerful. It's worth that neg.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so moving on from that, we have Agatha. Move 3 damage counters from your active Pokemon to your opponent's active Pokemon. This can be kind of cute. Maybe like in a Dragapult build or in a VMAX deck where, or no, I think maybe in Dragapult you'd want to play this because Dragapult kind of struggles like 2-shotting other VMAXs.
Mm-hmm.
That's always been one of Dragapult's main weaknesses. Unfortunately, this doesn't help with that math, but it can help you. It can help it live a hit or two. And Dragapult's one of those decks that just loves having damage everywhere because it's really good at manipulating damage. But other than this card is really interesting. But I don't think it's going to be super great. But it's still nice to have. I don't know how to say her name, but this card is actually nuts. Like Peonia,
I think it's Pina.
Pina. Yeah, this card is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Like so, control decks used to play Gladian, and
Mm-hmm.
Gladian is you look at your prize cards, choose one of them, swap a Gladian with that prize card. This you take 3 prizes or you choose up to 3 prizes, and then you choose cards equal to the amount you took and place them back in your prizes.
That is
So
kind
you
of
can
nuts.
it's this is actually crazy for control because now control can get away with like playing a bunch of one ofs.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's like I only play one of this card because it's only good in this one matchup and it's prized. That sucks. Oh wait, I just play this. I have a 50% chance of getting it. Like that's and 2 other good cards, right? I think this card's really crazy. It's
Mm-hmm.
really powerful. We'll most likely see play in control.
Mm-hmm.
I can't see a world where control doesn't see this. Give me 1 second. My laptop's about to die. I just need to grab my charger.
I'll try doing the next card. Because I don't
Yeah,
think
go
this
for it.
one. I don't think this one's super good. It's Seabold. Choose up to 2 of your Rapid Strike Pokemon and play and heal them for 60 for each. Yeah. From what I know, it doesn't seem like it'd be the greatest thing. Maybe it's just me, but 60 doesn't seem like the biggest amount, and also just having the two Rapid Strike Pokemon. It's just I don't think this will see play in Rapid Strike, especially when you're using up your one supporter slot.
Yeah, that's pretty much exactly it. 60 is just not enough.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the same in this day and age. Um, if you really want to play a healing card in like Rapid Strike decks, I think Cheryl's better
Mm-hmm.
because Cheryl just heals all of it. But it only works on evolution Pokemon. But realistically, like I don't think your basics aren't living a hit anyways.
Mm-hmm.
And if they are, the 60 damage is irrelevant. So this is only really good on your VMAX Rapid Strike or your Evolution Rapid Strike Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
But in those scenarios, you're just far better off running Cheryl.
Yeah, I
So
think
yeah,
Cheryl's definitely better than this card, and she's cuter, so it's specs.
I mean, like I honestly like this was a card I remember looking at like a few days ago when it was spoiled, and I actually like forgot who this guy was. Do you know who this is?
No, I can't recognize him.
He's one of the Elite Four members from X and Y.
Oh yeah. Wow.
I swear,
Yeah. Did
I
not
swear,
recognize him.
I'm pretty sure X and Y wins for like the most forgettable characters.
Mm-hmm. Okay, which one's next? We got three cards left.
All three of these cards are worth talking about.
Ooh, okay.
So we have Old Cemetery. Whenever a player attaches an energy from their hand to one of their Pokemon, excluding Psychic types, put two damage counters on that Pokemon. So this can be
Whoa.
pretty good. It can help Shadow Rider reach some even higher numbers.
Mm-hmm.
I really like this in Dragapult
Mm-hmm.
because again, it helps Dragapult reach those higher numbers. Um, it's very similar to Frozen City, which is a card we saw way back in the Plasma era. The
Mm-hmm.
only difference is Frozen City was when they attached to non-Plasma Pokemon. This card is really this card's good against Frostmoth decks
Mm-hmm.
because Frostmoth decks, like the Lapras VMAX deck, for example, they just want to put like 10 energy on a Lapras VMAX. While they do that, they take 200 damage if this is in play.
Yep.
Like this card's really good for Dragapult because it will help Dragapult reach even higher numbers,
Mm-hmm.
which, as I brought up earlier, is his main weakness. So I think this probably becomes the preferred stadium for Dragapult after rotation. I think pre-rotation, you still want to play Power Plants
Mm-hmm.
or that new like Path of the Peak to turn off Jirachi so that Pulse can hit for weakness. But post-rotation, I think you almost definitely play this in Pulse. Up next, we have Spiral Energy. It's the exact same thing as that Rapid Strike, as like the single strike one. Only this one is for the Rapid Strike Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a rainbow and it prevents paralysis, and they can no longer they're healed from paralysis.
And the last one was
So this is
poison, right?
actually sorry.
The last one was poison, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
yeah, it was poison. So this is way better
Yeah.
because generally speaking, when in this format, if you're getting poisoned, it's to help the other attacker reach like a certain threshold to knock you out.
Mm-hmm.
It's the reason why some Eternatus decks last format or last set rather played Galarian, Slowbro V, and those Toxicroaks to do more poison damage. It was to allow Eternatus to one shot opposing VMAXs.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so the problem is poison's like nowhere in the format now.
Mm-hmm.
Denying those one shots can be decent on the poison one, I guess, but denying paralysis is huge because like I brought up earlier, like Pikaram's win con a lot of the times is reset stamp your opponent to 2, paralyzed with Choo Choo.
Mm-hmm.
This doesn't allow that to happen. So I think it's more likely that this one will see play because I'm pretty sure like all poison Eternatus variants have just died out.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess the final card of the set is Lucky Energy. It only provides a colorless energy, but if it's the Pokemon that's attached to is the active and they are damaged by opponent's attack, you draw 1.
That's not
So this card
bad.
seems like it can be pretty decent in Blissey.
Yeah.
Like you attack, you get 3 of these on your Blissey, and if they attack Blissey, you just draw 3 plus your card for turn. So you're drawing 4 cards essentially for your next turn. That can be really good value.
Mm-hmm.
But it's important to note that you do have to draw the card.
Yeah.
So if you get too greedy with this, you can potentially duck yourself out.
Yeah, I like
So
it. It's a nice little effect.
yeah, I think I think overall, um, draw energy is better. It's
Mhm.
the exact same thing, but it's just when you play it, you draw the card.
Mhm.
Um, but I think in like a deck like Blissey, I feel like this would almost be better, just because Blissey can rip three of them. And then the problem with draw energy is that only works when it's from your hand, so it doesn't work with Blissey.
Mhm. Right. Well, yeah, so
But
we
yeah,
have we've reached the end of our, I guess, set review of Silver Lance and Jet Black Spirit. So Lane was telling me earlier that uh this is like the OCG set, and these two will be combined for Chilling Rain, which comes to the PTCG around June 18th, I believe. And there may be some changes, so we'll probably do a video when we get the actual set list for the TCG. But I
yeah,
think I can speak for Lane and I when I say this is pretty exciting. There's some definitely some good cards
yeah.
in this set, so I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think the main problem a lot of people had was Vivid Voltage was like a really subpar set. Like
Mm-hmm.
the only thing that brought the only like decent deck that came out of that was Colossal, but Colossal was only ever like tier two. Like no, tier two is way too high. Like tier three at best. Um, but Battle Styles introduced a tier one deck. I feel like these cards combined with the other cards we're going to be getting in Chilling Reign. You heard me probably mention the Galarian Birds. I think those cards are really good. They're also going to be in this in our version of the set.
Mm-hmm.
I think every all in all speaking, like this set will add a decent amount to the meta, and I think we're going to get a good, nice, or I think we're going to get a decent meta shift come this set, and then I believe about 2 months later will be rotation.
Mm-hmm.
2 to 3 months after this. Oh no, there we'll be getting a third, I believe, another sets this year before rotation, and then when that set becomes legal, it'll rotate.
Mm-hmm.
But no, overall, I'm actually quite excited for this set. A lot of interesting things. A lot of interesting like brews I want to try out, like Lycanroc and Tauros I brought up earlier. Those are some cards I'm really interested in. But I think overall, my favorite card in the set is Corellia,
Mm-hmm.
just because of how much potential it brings to the Gardevoir decks and Galley decks
Mm-hmm.
going forward.
All right. Well, yeah, that's it from us tonight. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you enjoyed this Pokemon content, please let us know in the comments below. Anyways, that's gonna be it. Have a good evening. Stay happy. Stay healthy.